Hey guys, Mr. Decker here once again. We are on lesson 23, collisions. This is the code.org CS Discoveries Unit 3, animations and games. We are into the games section or games chapter, sorry, that would be even better to say. So let's get started. Sprite interactions. All right. So collisions are really fun. There's lots of different types of collisions. So far, we've been able to create simple sprite interactions by using the sprite is touching block. For example, you've reset a coin to a different location on the screen when a character touches it. Now it's time to start making sprites have more complex interactions. Do this. It says run the program and observe the interaction between the two sprites. We're going to discuss and see what's going on here. Using only the commands that we already know how to use, how could we create this kind of interaction? There are many ways to do it, but here are some blocks to consider. All right, let's run it. So right now the giraffe is moving right across the screen. When he gets to the monkey, both the giraffe and the monkey begin moving right. So we could say in here, we could have a Boolean, or not a Boolean, but an if statement, a conditional that says if the giraffe is touching the monkey, then monkey velocity x equals giraffe velocity x is the way that I would work that out. Anyway, let's keep moving. And on bubble 2, let's see what is going on here. Program a sprite interaction. Here's a simple program, but it doesn't work yet. Do this. Try out your plan from level 1 to program the giraffe to push the monkey off the screen. All right, so let's try that idea that I had. So I need an if statement. And we're going to say if giraffe is touching monkey, if I can spell it right, then monkey velocity x let's see, is equal to giraffe velocity x. Run it. And it works. I was right. Which is the best kind of right. Technically correct, the best kind of correct. All right. So let's finish there and continue to bubble 3. Write your own sprite interaction. Now the elephant should push the hippo off the screen. Notice that the elephant moves at a random y velocity each time the program runs. All right. Let's run the program, see how it works. So the elephant's moving up on y, so his y is decreasing. Ooh, but he just slides right underneath the hippo. So we're going to add code to make the elephant push the hippo off the screen. And this is going to be very similar to the code that we just did, except it's going to be done with y instead. So if statement inside the draw loop, if elephant is touching hippo, then hippo velocity y gets elephant velocity y. So now run it. And there you go. Now the elephant is pushing the hippo up off the screen. Finish there. Let's continue on. And we're displacing now. So this type of sprite interaction from previous levels is so common that there's a block for it called sprite.displace. Someone tried to use the sprite.displace block to make the elephant push the hippo, but there's a bug. So let's run the program. Oh, the hippo's pushing the elephant instead. Let's take a look at the code and see what's going on. So On line 19 is where we should be finding the hippo displace block. And actually, it's in the wrong order. So right now it says hippo displaces the elephant, but we need the elephant to displace the hippo. So where it says hippo here, we need to type elephant. Where it says elephant right here, we need to say hippo. So now it reads correctly, elephant displace hippo. And then reset run, and now the elephant should push the hippo up the screen. That's working. The bubble 5. All right, bubble 5, what are we doing? More collision blocks. 3 new types of sprite interactions have been added to the toolbox: sprite.collide, sprite.bounce, and sprite.bounceoff. How do you think they'll affect the sprites? Do this. We're going to be switching out the displace block for the new blocks one at a time, and we're going to see what each one is going to do. Hint, it says if you're having trouble doing this with blocks, then switch over to text mode. And then let's see. So right now the parrot is going to displace the penguin. So the parrot should push the penguin off the screen. If we switched that to penguin displace parrot, spell it right. Now the parrot is going to get pushed off by the penguin. So the order of the code still matters, and the order of the code matters on just this one line in this case. So let's get rid of this, and let's see what bounce does. Penguin, bounce, parrot. Reset run. Now they're just bouncing off of each other like they weigh the same. I doubt there's going to be a change if I reverse the order of this. So let's move on to the next one. Let's do bounce off. Penguin, bounce off, parrot. Run it. Ooh, that's cool. So now it's like the parrot weighs a ton and the penguin weighs very little. So the penguin just gets shoved and bounced right off of him. So now let's switch these and see what happens. Parrot, penguin. Run it. Now the penguin bounces the parrot, which would be the more likely scenario since the penguin is a much larger animal than a parrot. Let's see. Also kind of depends on the type of parrot or type of penguin, right? So let's see what collide does. Let's see. Penguin, collide, parrot. Run it. Ooh, does it change if I do parrot, collide, penguin? Do the opposite order? Does the opposite thing happen? Yes, it does. Okay. So that one's kind of like using displace. Yeah, I think we've used them all now. Actually, let me Control Z to get that code back up there so that I can finish and continue. All right, let's see. Bubble 6, we've got some practice levels. Let's do A together first. Collision types. I'm going to go ahead and run this, and the basketball just falls through the wood. That's not how it works. All right, the 4 types of collisions that we use in Game Lab are displace, collide, bounce, and bounce off, and these blocks will cause a certain type of interaction between the sprite and its target. So we're going to choose the best block to model a basketball's interaction with the floor. So let's see. I mean, maybe bounce off. Let's see. Basketball bounce off the wood. Run it. Oh, perfect. Cool. Well, that was easy. So basketball bounce off the wood. Finish and continue. Let's do B, collision types. We're going to make the arrow stop when it gets to the apple. All right, instead of pass directly through it. So let's see, sprite.collide maybe. So arrow collide with the apple. Reset run. Perfect. I think that's what they wanted, right? Let's see. Make the arrow stop when it reaches the apple. Yep. All right, so arrow.collide apple is what you want there. And then collision types, make one cart push the next. Okay. So the effect we want is for the, like a bounce off effect or a bounce. Run it. Right now they are doing nothing. Okay. It looks like there's 2 tracks, but there's only one. Let's try gray cart, bounce off, blue cart. Run it. Oop. Whoops. All right, let's try blue cart, bounce off, gray cart, not Gary cart, but gray cart. Gary might be hiding in there, right? Reset run. There we go, except we want, so maybe just bounce. So gray cart, bounce, blue cart. Let's see if that works. There we go, that's the effect. Sweet. So gray cart dot bounce blue cart is what you wanted there. It's kind of fun to mess around with it until you get the effect that you wanted. That's my opinion anyway, for what it's worth. All right, next part, we're gonna choose the best block to make the child push the suitcase. So run, we want her to push her suitcase. She's traveling, she's at the airport, she's ready to go. Get into her terminal. Or, oh, never mind. Not an airport. That's not an airplane back there, Mr. Decker. That is called a subway train. My bad. Okay, let's see. But actually, the airport in Atlanta has subway trains you can ride from terminal to terminal. If you've ever been to the airport in Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so I think we're going to use displace. And I think we're going to have the kid displace the suitcase. And I think that will work. Run. Yep, perfect. So kid displace suitcase. Finish. Continue. That's going to put us right onto bubble 7, and that is the assessment bubble. So like always, on your assessment bubble, you want to make sure that you're getting everything exactly right. All right, you've now seen 4 different types of sprite interactions. You'll need them all for this challenge. All right, so for each pair of animals, choose the sprite interaction that matches the target image on the right. So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 interactions we're recreating. So down to the bottom inside the draw loop, you'll always put your sprite interactions in the draw loop. So the giraffe and parrot up first, they're at the top. So they're just going to bounce off. So giraffe, bounce off, parrot, run. Nope. Maybe just bounce. Giraffe, bounce off, or sorry, just bounce, parrot. There we go. And then the hippo is going to displace the elephant, I believe. Yep. So hippo displace elephant. And then what happens? The monkey displace rabbit. And then what happens at the very bottom? Okay. For this last one, I think the turtle or snake. Is that a snake or a turtle? What are you? It's a snake. All right. Snake displace. Oh, whoops. Snake bounce off. Pig. Let's make sure that's working. Run it. Boom, boom. That snake just ain't having it with that pig, man. All right, continue. We got it. All right, we've got some challenges to work on. Let's go to A. Jumping right in here. Sometimes sprites will behave in ways that are unexpected, and there's a special debug property you can use to better understand why sprites are interacting the way that they do. Do this. These two coins are round, so you would expect them to bounce in a certain way, but something weird is happening. Run the code and watch the way the coins interact. So, oh, they do bounce weird. You'd think that they would just bounce the same way or the opposite direction that they came in. So turn on the debugging feature for both of the sprites and run the code again. Okay, so we should have debug here, true. And this debug down here will make that true. And what that will do is make the hitboxes show up or colliders show up. So now we're going to change the gold coins starting position to 51 and run the code again. So where's that? So 50, we'll change that to 51. Reset run. Oh, that makes them go opposite of what they were doing. I think they're bouncing strangely because their colliders are squares or rectangular instead of circular. Is that all it wants us to do? Yep. Finish and continue. Might go back to that. Oh, okay. Collider shape. So here, I think we're going to be changing the shape of the collider. So sprites interact based on the size and shape of their collider, not the images that are assigned to them. You can only see the collider when the debug mode is turned on. You can change the shape of the collider using the set collider block, which lets you pick between a rectangle or a circle. By default, all colliders are rectangles. So we're going to have to change the collider to a circle for each of those coins. So down here we have gold coin dot set collider rectangle. So we're going to change that to circle. And it looks like we'll need to use the code from our sprite drawer. You'll find it towards the very bottom. So silver coin, we're going to set the collider for that to a circle as well. We're going to run that. Whoop. And now they're bouncing correctly. All right, very good. Now we're on challenge C, I think. We're going to work on bounciness. How bouncy do you want your objects to be? All right. So far, bounce off has made sprites bounce away from objects as fast as they bounced into them. In the real world, almost everything slows down just a little bit when it bounces off something else. You can use the new bounciness block to tell your sprite how much to slow down or speed up when it bounces off something else. All right. Read the code below and run the program to see the behavior of the basketball and pool ball. All right, so the basketball is bouncier than the pool ball. Use a new block to set the bounciness of your soccer ball. So I think soccer balls are less bouncy than a basketball. Right now, it just continues to bounce, ignoring the laws of physics. Where is bounciness? Where art thou, bounciness? Block, there it is at the very bottom, sprite.bounciness. We're going to use this on the soccer ball. We'll put that right here. So soccer ball, bounciness, and let's look at the code here a little bit deeper. So the bounciness of the basketball is 0.8. The bounciness of the pool ball is 0.4. So let's go right between those with 0.6. for the bounciness of the soccer ball on line 15. Reset run. There we go. Good. Most excellent. All right, moving on to the next one. We've done A, B, and C. Let's do D, collect the sprites. This one looks a little bit complex. I'm excited. All right. Use what you've learned so far to create an animated scene with one sprite collecting other sprites. All right. For example, you could program a character to collect all the trash and put the items to a recycle bin, or you could have a dog move around or herd several sheep by pushing them to a corner of the screen, or even an astronaut who collects several stars by pushing them to their spaceship. On the animation tab, we have nothing. All right, so what I want to recreate this. Let's see. Ooh, okay. So he's collecting like little things and putting them into this. All right, so animation, new animation. Let's find that background, that exact background. Let's see. It's an aquatic scene. I'm not seeing it. Are you seeing it? Let's go back and look at that again. That might be a sprite itself. Okay, I think I've got a good idea of which one that is now. Let's see. If I can just find it in here. There it is. Done. Okay, BG underwater. And then we're going to find that shell thing. There we go. Done. And then I think he's a crab. Yep. Let's find our crab. We use this guy. And here's the little creature that he was pushing in. All right. Sweet. All right. So now let's build this. So sprite, set animation. This is going to be our background. So I'll call it BG. 200, 200, and background. And let's go ahead and while we're at it, grab a draw loop and a draw sprites. Make sure that's working. And it is. Next thing we want to do is get the other sprites onto the screen. So let's get our crab on. Let's see how big whoops. Let's see how big the crab animation is. He's humongous, so let's use scale to make him smaller. That works for me. And then, well, let's see. How big is he on here? He's even smaller than that. So let's do like 0.35. There we go. And then we'll make the little creatures extra small. And that's the creature. How big is he? He's humongous. So we're going to make his scale super small. Whoops. Scale.scale. Creature 0.1. There we go. And then let's put him up here at 7537. And we're going to need multiples of this. So I'll copy all this, Control C, move my cursor with my arrow keys. We're going to have a bunch of them. So creature 1, creature 2, whoops, Control Z. 2, and 2, and 3, 3. Come on, I'm trying to click in there. 3, and then I'm gonna do 2 more. 4. Get that out of the way so I can actually see what I'm doing. 4. Whoop. 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. So now I should have 6 of them, but I'm going to have to give them all random locations. So let's do math. Make this easier. So now let's see, creature here, here. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put the last sprite in before I do all of that. And that's that shell thing, or a coral thing. Let's call it coral. Coral. Proud of you if you understand that. 356, 339, or let's put it right here, 311, 300. And we'll set the animation of that to the decoration. And then we'll make that way smaller. Coral. And 0.4. There we go. We'll move it a little bit to the right. 330. Ooh, that'll work. Sure. All right. And then let's work on these random numbers. So I want them, all the crabs, to be between, let's see here. I want them all to be up here in a random Y and X location, but they're all going to be between 30 and 370 and between 30 and 220. All right, so now we've got some work to do. So math, random number, random number. I wish I had done this first. 30, 370, 30, 220. Random number, random number. 30, 370, 30, 220. So every time we reset this, it'll look a little bit different, adding to the fun. It's always good to add to the fun. All right, 2 more times. 30, 370, 30, 220. 30, 370, 30, 220. All right, so now reset run. Sweet. That's awesome. Okay. Now I need to use some displacement, but I need my crab to move around. So I need 4 if statements for movement. And we're going to use the counter pattern with these if statements to make that happen. So let's go to world, if key down. We're going to make him move with our arrow keys. And we'll use left, right, up, and down on these. All right, let's go in and let's start making things move. Let's see, sprite.x, it's going to be sprite.x here. It's going to be sprite.y on up and down. There we go. And then it's going to be math drawer. To make it go left, we're going to subtract. To go right, we're adding. To go up, we're subtracting. And to go down, we're adding. And then sprite drawer again, sprites.x, sprite.x, sprite.y, and sprite.y again. Now, it's the crab, so crab, and I'm going to control C, control V, control V, control V, control V, control V, control V. And then we're going to give him a speed of 3 in each direction. And then we're going to check and make sure that controls are working. Yes, they are. All right. And then we'll say crab, displace, creature. And then we're going to have to repeat this code multiple times. Control C, V, 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 creature 1, creature 2, creature 3, creature 4, and creature 5. I think that's how many I have, right? Yep, creature 5. So now reset run. Let's make sure that's working. Yep, he's pushing them. So that makes it easy. I can just move them all down here. All right. And now I need an if is touching. So control drawer if, so that if sprite is touching coral, if creature is touching coral, or actually run. Oh, I may not need that. Let's see. Run. Let's see. Move these two guys over here. And they just go behind it. That's good. That works. Move these two guys. Get them behind it. Now, I think that's a perfect recreation. Get you moved over there. Now we've got food for later. All right. Let's make sure that's how it's supposed to work. Let's watch this little animation. Oh, I see. So they are going the extra step. So we will too. So we do need an if statement that checks to see if we got is touching again. If creature is touching coral, then creature visibility is false. And we were going to control C that entire if statement, V, 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 V. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. So now it's going to be creature 1, creature 2, creature 3, creature 4. So it ends up being a lot of lines of code. Whoops. Control Z. It ends up being a lot of lines of code, but it's actually fairly simple overall. And now when they touch the coral, they should disappear. Yep. Let's get them all, make sure they're all working. Get you guys down here, move over here, and push you in. There we go. Or maybe he's like collecting his babies. Is he collecting food or collecting his babies? Like, hey, it's dinner time. We're all going home, back to the coral house. And making sure that all the babies are collected, ready for dinner. Or is he collecting his food for later? I don't know. Questions, thoughts, feelings, concerns. All right, finish and continue. And let's work on deflecting the sprites maybe. Let's see. It's a whole thing again. All right. Let's find the ghost. This guy. Done. What else do we need? We need just a plain blue background and we need apples. Okay. So I think that's all the sprites that I need. And there's a score variable working. All right, let's do this speedy. Let's be speedy. So ghost, and he only moves back and forth left and right. So that makes it a little less complicated than the last one. We need our draw loop and draw sprites. Oop. Oh, didn't set his animation. Run. There he is. You can barely see him though, so let's get a background in there. All right, and then let's move him down here to 200, 330. All right, and then let's make him move back and forth. So control, 2 if statements to make him move. Whoops, world drawer, if key down, left, right. And I'm doing this in a hurry. So let's see, if key down left, then sprite.x, math drawer. We're gonna subtract for left and add for right. Sprite.x, and let's give it a value of 3 and 3. And Control C ghost, Control V ghost. Everywhere that needs to be. Reset run. Let's make sure he moves. Yes, he does. And then let's get that apple on the screen. Apple. Set the animation for the apple. Reset run. It's huge. Let's make that smaller. .4. Let's see what that does. That works for me. Let's see what this animation is doing. All right, we need a score. So let's go into our variables. Let's create a score variable that equals 0. And then we need a if statement that asks if the apple is touching ghost. And then we'll have the apple bounce off the ghost. And we'll add to the score. Score gets score plus 1. Reset run. Oh, we never made the apple go down the screen, so we need to give the apple a velocity. Give it a velocity of 3, why not? And, or even more fun, we'll give it a random number. Between 3 and 7, let's say. And let's start it up here at y0. Reset run. Let's see if that's working. All right, it does bounce off. Let's create some more apples. And let's give the apples a random random x location between 30 and 370. Control C, Control V, Control V. Let's just do 3 apples for now for the sake of time. Apple 1. Whoop. And apple 2. Okay, and we'll have an if statement that loops the apples and keeps them going. If apple.y is less than 0, then we're going to copy this line right here. Control C. That cursor all the way down there. Control V. And that's going to be apple. And then we're going to copy this code and get that in here. And we're going to have that for apple 2 and apple 3. All right, let's make sure. Oh, apple 1. Well, we'll just change that to apple 1. Oh, we forgot the bounce off thing. So we need to copy this. Control C, Control V, and Control V. And that is going to be apple 2, Control C. And then we'll do the same thing for apple 1, Control C. I reset run. All right, comes back down. Oh, and we need to give them a random y every time. So random y. So in each of these, sprite.y, where do I need to put that? Here. No, sprite.x is going to be random. So apple.x, random number between 30 and 370. Copy that, put that into each of these, and that's going to be apple 2. And here, and that's going to be apple 1. Now let's run that again. All right, so that's working. And then we need one more thing. Well, a couple more things. So sprites or control drawer. If apple 1 or apple.y is greater than 400, then we're doing this code again. Control C, Control V, whoop, Control Z to undo that. Control V, and we need to set its Y back to 0. All right, and then we're going to do that. We're going to copy that whole thing, Control C, Control V, and Control V for each of our apples. So this is going to be apple 1, 1, 1, and 1, and 2, and 2, and 2. Run it. All right, and then we're going to add to our score, or get our score to appear on the screen, rather. So drawing drawer, text color, and we need to draw it below our draw sprites. Yellow's fine. I'm going to go with white, though. And then the actual text itself, score, space, we'll put that at 10x 15y, run. There's that. And then let's get the score on there as well. And that's the last thing we will do. Text block again. Take that out. Take that out. Score. And we're going to put that at 10. And, well, 15 fine, but let's do like 70 and see. Oh, too far. 40. Not far enough. 50. Perfect. All right, so now every time he bounces an apple, it's not a perfect game. You just saw how I can cheese it by pushing an apple to the side, but you can see how that's working now. All right, done and done. Let's finish right there. We've done all of the challenges for this one. All right. Thank your lucky stars. We got it all done. Okay. That's it for me. I hope you had fun. I'll see you here on this channel for lesson 24.